Well, we've got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to start off talking about the potential winger problem Spurs have with Sonny out on the left. Me personally, not too sure if he's suited to that role. Kulusevski, I mean, he hasn't really found form since the back end of the season where he first joined us under Antonio Conte. HG, do you think that Spurs have a winger problem at the moment?
Well, I think we'd be better if we played wingers who were playing on their natural side. I mean, traditional wingers, the kind of wingers that I grew up with, even if you take Son in the Brentford game, I feel like he was better actually going down the outside the few times he did. So, yeah, I think we have a winger problem. Frankly, I think it's too narrow and we're causing ourselves issues.
The wingers we do have, do you feel like they're like Ange has this kind of a fairly specific way his wingers want to play in terms of more traditional wingers, very much stay out wide, take people on, beat players, create chances. When I'm looking at Son specifically, do you think we have an awkward problem because we've just made him captain? Obviously, look, he's one of our best players for sure. He's a world-class player. But in terms of him at this stage of his career, at 31 years of age, and what he's really good at, do you think that kind of role gets the best out of him?
More than last season's role got the best out of him. I mean, we watched him try manfully and struggle under Conte, but I think he's got it within him. It may not be his natural game. It may not be the best thing for him, but I definitely think that it's something that he can do. And he needs to try harder, I guess, to do that.
Yeah. And Brains, how are you feeling on this one?
That's one of those problems in football that's kind of like it's a red herring. You know, in football, in your early days when you get trained, and a lot of the trying to adapt and figure out and learn is all there. Everything from there is how much you can adapt like naturally. Trying harder is a problem. If a player has to try harder, it's like, why? You know, so there's you're coming to a later stage of your career. Look at Ronaldo. He adapts. He goes into the center because like just being a greedy goal guy who's just going to terrorize defenders and get into the right place at the right time. That's easier than getting the ball short at, deep defenders on you, people on the wing trying to break you down, hack you down, run the whole wing, cut inside, hit the top corner. That's magic. That's what Son was incredible at. But then once that starts to get chipped away at, you can't just try harder to be good at that again. That is just kind of slowly going, so he has to adapt. Like in this scenario we have here, it is a problem if you want to view it like that, but it's a very solvable adaptation. You have a inverted winger one side who's brilliant with his left foot, and you have a two-footed player who really wants to cut in. They both want to one step over, then move the ball onto their hip foot, and defenders can just stop that all day long. You can get narrow, you can stop that cross. But flip them over, and you have Son, who can still cut in if needed on his left foot, but he's a right footer. He can go down, cut back. That's what Ange wants. You put Kulusevski on the left side, he's really good with his left foot. He can get to the byline, and all of a sudden they become normal wingers. And also like that stuff that Kulusevski loves to do, dragging it in, but still being left-centric with his foot to get to the byline and then tap back with his left. He could have way more time having fun on the left doing that stuff where he's naturally going to go, and he'll be able to find people so much better with his left foot. So it's all adaptable and solvable. It's also a big problem because you have a out of form player in the center who, let's be honest, none of us are really sure that Richarlison can absolutely do that job. But if Richarlison is going to play, you cannot have Sonny be the left winger and maybe not even Kulu. Perisic has to be the guy. If Richie is going to go through the center, which is one problem, then I'm sorry, but you have to have Perisic, because Perisic is the only player who, even though you can see the step overs coming and he's just going to go on he at least can go step, bang, right foot, perfect on the sixpence cross, or he can go left foot, bang, bang, push it. He's got a bigger sprawl, bang, left foot cross perfectly onto heads. But the heads have got to be people who are capable of getting up, and that's the one thing that I can see Richarlison is kind of better than anyone we've got at just now. He's good with the head. So there's a solution there. It's like just put the circles into round holes and the squares into boxes, and you kind of can solve things, But if we're going to do this thing where the manager's always going to be 5 or 6 months behind the general consensus of the fans, because we have all this knowledge. We've seen it. We've seen where it's going. The manager's come in and he's going to have to give Richarlison a go. He's going to have to keep the legend that is Son on his favorite side. He's going to have to do these things because he doesn't want to ruin players' confidence. He doesn't want to take them out of, I don't think you're doing my system. So the third thing of how it fixes is either Ange makes the decision, either he changes his system to adapt players, which are we going to see him do that for the first time ever because he's going to feel unconfident that he's finally hit the Premier League? He's going to go, no, all right, you guys are bigger names than me. I'm going to change to you. Or he just changes them to actually fit his system. And the surprising thing was when he did it in preseason, like he didn't do it a lot, but when he did do it in preseason, magic. So for the life of me, don't know why he's just not putting the right pegs in the right holes right now.
So you feel that you're comfortable with the winger options going into this season then?
Obviously you could just keep throwing money at this problem, but we don't have money, and what we need to spend on is just way more important. So
that's what they want you to think, Brains.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've always got money, but whether we have money to spend on footballers is another thing.
Look, I think that when it comes to the options, like in a perfect world, if everyone's fit, Perisic is down the left, Bryan Gil is down the left. Probably Pedro Porro would become one of those right wing options where you're not asking him to do any defending. We know that's not his strong suit. You get him down that right hand side, and Kulusevski at some point might become an 8.
I think Kulusevski would be a great. Yeah, I think Kulusevski would be a way better 8 than Skip. I think Kulusevski would be brilliant in there.
So it's just interesting to see that we do have options. Like obviously, I would love there to be this amazing young right winger who would take people on, like I saw Kanchelskis do for Man United in the 90s. Those things don't seem to exist. All the wingers like to play inverted now. You get your right-footed players down the left and your left-footed players down the right. And Kulusevski, as Brain said, he can go around the outside, but I feel like he needs lots of space to do that. He doesn't have pace to do it in 5-6 yards. He needs almost to get some momentum going. And maybe the way Spurs are playing won't allow him to do that. So I definitely think there are options, but I do think that if we're looking for one, we have to find an old school winger because, if Porro's not it, then that's where we should be going.
What's Paul Walsh and Darren Anderton doing right now?
Get Darren. Well, I mean, Darren Anderton's probably still on the hospital bed at Hotspur Way, just waiting for his treatment. To be honest, but look, I'm not so sure about Kulusevski. I mean, I rate him as a player, and I think he's got such good attributes, but we haven't seen some consistent form from him for a while now. And is that worrying you, HG?
Not particularly, because he didn't really get maybe when Conte was sacked, he played a few more games towards the end of last season, but there was a long time when he was injured and Richarlison was picked ahead of him, out of position. So it's weird. Yes, we've not seen the Kulusevski that we saw when he first signed, when he came in and looked the business very quickly. But things are a bit different and things have changed. And I don't believe it's a permanent problem. I don't believe that was an amazing run of form that we'll never see again. It's just about getting him to do what he's best at doing. The question is really, in this system, what will he be best at doing? We've got lots of 8s, and I think he said himself that he sees himself as the number 10, and that he's really only played out there because that's where he got played by Parma, that's where he went to Juventus to play, and he's done it for Spurs. But maybe in his head, he wants to be more central. He wants to play the passes that we expect Maddison to now do. So he's clearly a very good and very intelligent player, but as is Son. But if they're not doing what the team needs, then we have a problem.
Yeah. I think Kulusevski is more suited to playing that wide role in this system than Son is, in my opinion. A lot of people are kind of saying how bad Kulusevski played on Sunday, but I thought actually in the second half he was definitely growing into the game and actually having a lot more influence as the game went on, and actually started to beat Rico Henry on a few occasions, rather than the first half where Rico Henry had him on lockdown. I actually do think Kulusevski can do this role. I think he's got the skill set to do it. But I do have big question marks on Son. I think if we're talking about Son from like 5 years ago, I think we wouldn't have a problem him doing this role. But I think his game has adapted to being a lot more of a forward player than a wing kind of player. I think he is still decent in the wide areas, but the Son that we saw maybe, you know, when Poch signed him, are like a guy who's like a relentless runner, can really be a thorn in like a fullback side throughout the game and take him on relentlessly and use that pace. We haven't seen that Son. Not to say it's been a worse Son, it's just been a different Son for the last few years. And that is, and now I'm just worried that we're trying to fit him in a role which I don't think either gets the best out of him or he's suited to, in my opinion. And the begs the question, there was a question put to Ange a week ago, I think, that, you know, could you see Son being our central striker? Do you think as the season goes on, potentially we might see that be the case? Or do you think do you think Son could play central striker in this Ange system? What do you reckon, Brains?
I think it's a matter of time right now, because how long can a manager, you know, you feel for Richarlison, you know that he's going through a confidence thing, but this is his career. This is Ange's career. This is his chance, his big shot as well. How long can you sit and watch a person not moving right, not having their head on their shoulders in the right way, and then know that you've got a player who can hit with either foot, who can go in and out of the lines like Son can. Son's done that. Son's done that even when he was supposed to be on the left at times. He would just move in center, Kane would go deep, and Son would be the center forward. So, look, it's about being in the front line and being a striker. It's about partnerships. Same with Kulusevski. Kulusevski looked like just world class when he had Bentancur, someone he kind of knew, understood that he could put it and where he could get it together. They would just work together so well. So it's about creating these good time friendships and partnerships. It's early days for Ange, but I also think a big part of Ange's job is seeing, look, these players have had differences in managers, been moved all over the place. In Kulu's career, he's been moved so many different places. He has a place that he loves to play. I think you got to give him a chance to play there. I think you got to pull Sonny aside and go, look at how Ronaldo did. Look at how Messi's doing it. People, you're getting to a certain point, just move into the center and use all of your skills and assets to get goals, and just and find positive ways to get them to do what he wants to do. I think it's just a matter of time before Sonny does that.
Do you think go on, HD? Yeah, go on.
Like, if you look at the goals, I mean, I'm sure you saw it too, but there was a Tifo video that they put on YouTube yesterday, and they talked about the type of chances that Celtic used to create when Ange was their manager. And it was all about getting to the byline and pulling it back. And it wasn't just the main striker that was scoring the goals, it was the eights. The eights were coming in later. And look, I think it's very key that Maddison is playing on the left-hand side, because I assumed that he would be on the right-hand side. Being right-footed, he'd be able to whip the balls in. But he's clearly been asked in every single preseason game and also the Brentford game to play down the left. I assume that means that when the ball is cut back towards him, he can use his stronger foot to find the target. So it feels as if, like, I agree, like the main striker in that Celtic side, there's nothing particularly strong or powerful about him in the way that Richarlison is built. He was a first-time finisher of either foot. And Son can basically concentrate on moving 5 or 6 yards away from the defenders, and hopefully the ball will find him. He shouldn't need to do much of the running that we saw previously, because if we're playing the high press, there won't be space for him to run into. So it's about finding that movement. And I do think he has it. It may not be his natural game. It may well be something different. But if you're looking at the best fits for the system, then I think Perisic is a better fit out wide, and Son would therefore be a better fit in the middle.
100%.
As to when we see that, I don't blame Richarlison for it. Richarlison is who he is. But if you look at the system that we want to be doing, that we assume that Ange will put into just get going. I can't remember English now. It seems a better fit to have Son down the middle.
But if you're saying like Perisic is the best fit out wide and Sonny is the best fit in the middle, how does that work? Because I mean, Perisic obviously world-class deliveries into the box. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen Sonny win a header before in his life. Surely, if you're playing Perisic, the best player to play down the middle would be Richarlison, because he is fairly good in the air.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying, is that would be the best team. And I think if you like put a left-footed player as the wing, then you're not really looking for like you're saying, like his system with Kyogo. It's like you don't have to be big. The job of the centre forward, it becomes completely different. You're not being asked to take the ball with a defender against you, bash them back by 2 yards, hold the ball. You're not being asked to do that. If you watch Kyogo the last couple of seasons with Celtic, like it isn't that job. He ghosts. He goes away. He hangs offside for a couple of seconds. So the defender's kind of like, fuck's he doing? You know, and then bang, he's like onside and he's making a perfect run. The defender he just switches him off. So it's clever football as a striker that Son could do, because it requires less killing your body to sprint and hold and be involved in the fights. We don't want to see Son back to a defender trying to hold the ball up. He's not good at it. Richarlison's not good at it, but he's got a little bit more about him. His touch is just dreadful. So yeah, I think it is about putting the right person on the left wing who's going to get to the byline and then cut them back. But like HG was saying, sometimes those cutbacks are not crosses in the air. Sometimes they're at the back post. So the guy at the back post is coming in for an easy header. It's not always the centre forward. The centre forward's run ends up being a front post run. You know, so it's not a big header. It's not being good with the head. So Perisic can do it. And then it's like Perisic's beautiful loopy balls to the back post. That's where the person comes in for the, you know, Jota used to do that at Celtic. Just come to the back post, lovely little head and tap-ins, you know, so that it works, you know. And I just think it's a matter of time before we start seeing. The problem is we didn't get a big enough time with them all together in pre-season for them to try out all these things. So we're going to have to see it slowly happen in game, which is going to take a while.
If we do eventually move Son into the centre, and let's say before the window closes, we do sign a Gift Orban, for example, do you think that, let's say, for example, we do you think that all of a sudden could add a separate problem where all of a sudden we go from needing a striker to being overstocked in strikers? If Son is moved to the centre, Orban's a striker, we have Valise there and Richarlison. I mean, is that a problem you just think HG like cross that bridge if we come to it, or is that a problem we should be thinking ahead of time of?
I mean, are we definitely looking to sign Gift Orban, or is this just newspaper talk?
Let's say we do sign him. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, but let's say
it's called a hypothetical, HG.
No, but the thing is, like, hypothetically, if you're going to sign Gift Orban, then to me that means Richarlison should go. I mean, that's a thing that maybe no one wants to consider because he's only been at the club for a year. But if we want to recreate that Celtic side or the type of sides that Ange has always had, Richarlison is your kind of your last 20-minute substitute if you're just trying to throw an extra striker on. He's not that guy. He could learn it in the same way that I think Son could learn it. I just think Son has a more natural game to play that central role than Richarlison does. Like, it's not as if Richarlison wasn't trying on Sunday, but in the same way that I think Skip was trying on Sunday, but it's not natural for him either to be asked what he was being asked to do, and he was unsure in many ways. Like, we've got time. I mean, as Brain said, Ange's only been in charge for 6 weeks. And for some of that, we've been traveling halfway around the world. So there will be opportunities to learn this outside of a game. But if we're looking to sign Gift Orban, then that to me says, okay, maybe we're thinking that Son is going to leave next season. Maybe it's a succession plan idea where we don't mind having an extra striker because, let's face it, whoever learns it best is going to play. And then next season we make a decision on that. But if Gift comes, you assume he has the kind of movement. You assume he's got this 2-footed goal-scoring ability that we seem to want from our central striker, and it wouldn't look good for Richarlison.
Yeah, I mean, how long do you reckon Richarlison gets without scoring goals in this front line, playing that number 9 role? How long do you think Ange will give it?
Yeah, I think it's a different time from like the Crouch at Liverpool days. I think it's just where strikers just can't. Not when you've got players who are better suited for a situation. I think you got to bring Orban in, or you go and just pay 30 million and get Kyogo, like the best player in the world that could do Ange's system. Like, in the Prem, you cannot. Like, we've always been known as the team that, regardless of being absolutely dreadful at the back, we've had the best attacking 3 for season after season. We've been that team, and now we've got round pegs and square pegs and round holes, and an out of form striker who, honestly, I heard someone say the other day, who couldn't hit his boxer shorts with a fart. I mean, it's pretty damning. Like, it's horrible to see because you see it every now and then. I've been in those ruts. Like, it's horrible. He wants so hard to be better, to understand, to fit, to play the way that the team needs. But I just don't think that's going to end. Even when he gets a goal, I don't think he's naturally that guy who gets on a run and gets to the next game and then a hat trick like Son is, or like Kane. You know, I've never thought he's the right format type player to play in our system. And now, when you've got a very specific system which requires a kind of darting in and out small player who's going to ghost it, he's not that guy either. So yeah, I think Itchy's right. I don't see Richie ever kind of fit in. I would love us to move him along, but with Gift Orban, by the way, I think he comes off. He's a player who can come off either wing as well. He's both footed. I think you could have him and Son together, interchanging in and out, could wreck shop. They really could.
But Brains, sorry, go on, HG.
No, it's just like I in my head, a striker is not what Spurs need, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be looking to go somewhere else with whatever money we've got. However, yeah, like if you're trying to move people in and out and you want to better what you can do, and you don't think Richarlison is going to be that guy. Like, Richarlison likes the physical contact. He wants to play up against the centre-backs. And in Ange's system, okay, that will help because you might push them back, but that's pretty much all you're going to be doing. For Ange's system to work, it's that everyone around that striker can do what they need to do, and the striker just puts it in the back of the net. Yeah. And if Richarlison ends up being that guy, brilliant. I mean, really, that's what we all want. We've got him. He's clearly a good player, and he never got the chance last season to play centrally, which he would have looked better and score more goals had he done that. So it's just a case of, like, if I'm looking to build the best 11 based on the players we have, Richarlison isn't in it. He's on the bench. He's going to come on and cause havoc if you need a goal, but he's not going to start. And Ange is going to be looking to bring people in who will start, who will be part of his best team. Maybe not this season, but certainly going forward.
Do you not think that maybe we are being a bit too hasty on Richarlison? Because like you said, he wasn't hardly played through the centre last year. When he was played out wide, it was just bit part roles in the game, in the team, out the team, in the team, out the team. We haven't really seen him have an extended period of time as the number 9. And I think like he's much more suited as a number 9 in an Ange system than he was in any sort of system that Conte played him in last season. So do you not think that we just need to be a bit more patient with him?
I said, I'm only going to get rid of him if we're going to sign another striker.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't blame him for any of this. In the same way that I don't blame Porro. If Porro plays as an inverted fullback and looks bad, I don't necessarily blame him for that. We bought players to do certain roles. I understand why we bought Richarlison last summer, but we used him terribly. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. How are we going to use... It's not as if we don't have players. We've got a whole bunch of players to pick from who will fit this system, but maybe there's this, we've paid a lot of money for him, we should give him a go as the number 9. Brilliant. Like, if Spurs are winning and he's not scoring, I don't really care, right? It's all about the team and the result. If we're scoring goals and he's not really involved, then the future in me saying, well, I want to see Valise get a go. I want to see Son get a go. Like, someone else who I think could do something different to improve the output. But it's sad that these players are having to adapt to a system, but there's a number of players in our team who are adapting to roles that they've never done before, and Richarlison is no different.
HG, regardless of like whether we sign a forward player or not, looking at our forward options as of now, let's say we don't sign another one, are you happy with those forward options to go into the season? Do you look at that and think that's, Andrew's got a lot to work with there, or do you think, compared to our rivals, we're still severely lacking?
I think I would be okay. I mean, I haven't even mentioned Solomon, who looked a pretty good signing and also can go down the outside. So there are players that even I still forget exist, right? Like, I've got my brain on Brian Hill being this guy down the left for us long term because I think it would really work. But I don't think about Solomon. So I do think we've got options. But if Gift Orban is the new best thing, and Spurs are saying, well, now's the chance. If we don't get him now, he'll cost us double next time around, unless he fails. And if he fails at his next club, we won't want him anyway. So you've got to make those decisions. I don't think there are clubs out there who are willing to spend big money on signing Richarlison. If they are, they're in the Premier League, and so it would be an awkward move to make. But given the options we have, I think we've got players who can go down the outside. I think we've got players who can work in the middle, and I think Spurs can score goals. I really do.